Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to ImmaLetYouFinish listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetu. That's betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetu. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Bonjour, it's ImmaLetYouFinish with Courtney and Amy on the Pantheon Podcast Network. It is show number 125. Bonjour, Amy.
Mecca lecca hi, Mecca hi ni hao.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll be here all week, folks.
Really, we will be. That's the problem. We will be. God,
We will be.
We will be. Anyway,
how's your week going?
I mean, it's Tuesday.
Listen, a lot.
Technically,
these days a lot can happen.
Started,
these
and
days
yesterday
a
was
lot
a
can happen.
holidays.
Listen,
so
these days a lot can happen by Tuesday.
So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good. Made it through episode 3 of the 90-Day Fiancé Tell-All, which was they are milking this fucking thing like a cow out the pasture.
There is like 700 spinoffs of that shit.
This is the recap show. This is fantastic. This is just a recap show.
Is there a new season on now? Are they recapping?
No, there will be. Yeah, it's nonstop. It's like a continuous. The only thing I'm trying to figure out, and for people who do watch the show, and I know there's a lot of people watch the show, if it's a recap show and they're shooting 4 days and they announce it as 4 separate days and they say day 2, why are they have them wearing the same clothes? They're literally, no, it's like they show them at night drinking in a bar, yelling and screaming at each other. And then they show them going nighty noodle. And then the next day it's 7:25 headed to the studio. And I'm like, they're all wearing the exact same outfits. Like you've established this is happening over 4 days so you can change their clothes. And Sean Robinson, bless her heart. That's all I want to say about that.
Oh, God. Is she the host?
Oh, yeah. With a new face. She's literally a new face.
Everybody's got a new face.
I have the same face.
I mean, it's like, I think you and I are the only two people who
So you want to hear something really weird and then we'll get started? Okay, this is so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a birthmark on my nose and I had it. I called it birthmark. It's probably a mole, but I like calling it birthmark. And it was out of control. And so several years ago, I had it just sort of, brought down to a reasonable level. It's fallen off. I can't find it. It's gone. For the first time in my life, I don't have a little mark on my nose. It's very weird.
Oh.
I feel like part of me is gone. Anyway.
It's just another part of me.
I feel like, how am I going to know my right from my left now?
Anyway. It was like when I was a dancer back in the day, you know what I mean? And I lost my foot in like traveling, and I still can't find that foot.
I know. You have to get on that one good foot you have left.
I'm on the good foot.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Nikki, I don't know.
First of all, I didn't even know. Okay. Why are we still...
No, we are not still talking.
But
You're the one who put you.
Well, because I didn't even realize she was still a thing.
All right, I think we have to start establishing who we're talking about. We tend to start in mid-sentence.
Because we're always just agog of shit. We're like, why is this happening?
Can I tell you honestly, I am not agog that Iggy Azalea is on OnlyFans. I'm really not. What else is she supposed to do for... I'm being very serious.
Yeah, but this OnlyFans is a whole campaign that they're doing around an album she has called Hotter Than Hell. So it's a whole campaign, and it's like a year-long thing, and it's supposed to be art and all of this different stuff. And I'm like, one, you have an album? Why? Two, who cares?
Well, somebody cares because she has an album. Whatever we may think of her, and there's a lot of things to say about her on so many different levels, she had a huge debut. Do you remember all the rap magazines, not just pop, were covering her as a face to watch, next big thing. That was a huge record.
Yeah,
it really
and
was.
then the collaborations that she got really early on, right?
Yeah, she really. So I am not a fan of hers, and I have a lot of issues with her on so many. I don't have an issue with her musically. I have an issue with her culturally. Talk about cultural appropriation. Jesus Christ, girl, you're not even American, and you're sounding like you have fronts in your mouth all the time. But what's she supposed to do? She's had all the work done to make herself look hot. She's a single mother. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume father is not paying a ton of child support, but maybe.
Is it the kid? Somebody.
Is this Nick Young? Is this Nick Young's kid?
Wait. Was it Nick's kid?
She's with somebody famous. She was with Nick Young, and then she was with another.
Somebody, yeah. I can't
rapper
remember
to be determined later.
Right, something like that. I can't remember. Mm-hmm.
So,
you and I should just make a rap album because at this point, we could make a rap album. We could go on OnlyFans. I think people would see to see
nobody needs to see me on OnlyFans.
But you don't have to have just sex on OnlyFans. We could do something weird like one of those, what is it, AMSR that people say they can watch us. They could just watch us eating and we can make crunches of sounds while we're trying to figure out what the
Watching me eating would be a 24/7 like Marina Abra blah blah blah.
There's a market for that. There's a market for it.
Too bad I couldn't have filmed my mole inexplicably falling off my nose.
There's a market for it.
Too bad I can't find my mole and put it back on my nose and put it on OnlyFans. There's got to be some sick fetish of people who are into moles.
Listen, there's a whole television show where people watch a lady popping pimples on people.
Oh, I don't want to go into that because I
can't even.
I have a weirdness with that. But
that to me that's literally traumatizing. I cannot deal with it.
All right, now speaking of traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll start it on a positive note. First off, we have reached the apocalypse, and I don't even care about football, but the Giants are in the postseason.
And the
apocalypse. This is the apocalypse.
It has to be because they won their wild card game.
They won. Just stop there. Just stop there.
It's like, what's happening? We won something?
I know.
We won something.
I know. And I'm not
I was in here screaming and yelling at the television.
I
was like, we won.
Yeah, football is not my sport, though I do watch the Super Bowl because, again, I do like to participate in global events. Who's doing the halftime show this year? Oh, it's Rihanna. It's Rihanna.
Yeah.
It's Rihanna. Right. Anyway, yeah.
I'm nervous for the halftime show.
Tom Brady is out, and that's the most important thing. Done.
Yes, he is out last night. But he got beat by Dallas, which is really just
Who cares? I don't care if he gets beat by a Pop Warner league. Right. I don't care.
My mother fucking loves him.
Really?
Oh my God, it's so horrible. We argue about it all the time.
Really?
She loves him.
Okay, you know how he knows?
And I'm like, why, Mom? Why?
No, he's horrible.
Why? What is that?
Did you see? There's going to be a movie.
Tom Terrific.
No, he's horrible. Tom Terrific was Tom Seaver. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. That's Tom Terrific. Well, and your mother knows that.
My mother, you don't know nothing about Tom Seaver. Like, she wasn't a baseball girl. You ask her basketball, she could tell you all basketball. Football, a little, but basketball and tennis are her sports.
All right. Well, he's horrible. Mm-hmm. Well, he's gone. All right. So anyway, the Giants are in, signed to the apocalypse. When they said that on TV, I was like, wait, what? What?
You're like, in what? You're like, are they in season coming back home?
Right, right.
They're still playing?
Has every other team suffered like COVID and they're all not playing?
Listen,
are they the only team?
We are a scrappy crew, But this year we have a new head coach, Brian Daboll, who the players are really buying into. And listen, I like that they have that scrappy ass New York fight.
And the Bills are in too.
Yeah,
so two New York teams.
Yeah,
well, one New York team and one Canadian team.
Right.
Sorry.
They're still a New York team.
I know, but
they're actually the only team that actually plays in New York. If you really think about it.
So one New Jersey team and one Canadian team.
They're the only one. We have 3 New York teams and only one actually plays in the state and has a practice facility in the state.
I know.
Both the Giants and the Jets, they're
Jersey, right?
Which is always
Jersey.
just kind of like, what?
Well,
what? You couldn't find a space on Long Island? Like, what the fuck?
Nah, they probably couldn't. Long Island is where hockey players practice. All right, so yay for them. Okay. Now, that game yesterday, the Knicks played the Raptors yesterday. That was painful. But, and I'm going to be on the bright side. They other than
they fought for it.
They fought for it.
Listen,
and okay, the free throw sitch, and I will give Julius Randle one out. He scored 43 or 42 points the night before, so maybe he was a little tired. But that RJ Barrett thing, when he got the ball and just ran with it all the way up court, that's a beautiful thing. And
they're fighting, and that's what we wanted to see from our Knicks.
And a lot of really shitty calls, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
I don't like the looks of the Raptors. I don't like that very pale tattooed person who's like their big guy. What's his name? Vandersleek? What's his name? I don't like him.
Vanderfleet.
Yeah, I don't like the looks of him.
Yeah, but his name is Fred, so I can't help him because, my Fred.
He's not French.
No, I said his name is Fred, so I can't hate a Fred because my Fred, so I don't hate any Freds.
Oh, we're doing that? Okay. Well. So this is the criteria we're going for. I know someone with that name.
Yes, listen. Fred is a sacred name, so if you're named Fred,
all right.
You're you know what I mean?
All right. I do love Fred too, but I think that's really stretching your loyalty, but that's okay. I'll let you have it. I don't like the looks of him. I don't like the looks of him, and I don't like the looks of that little lab rat that plays for Atlanta. And you know who I'm talking about.
I think that would be Trey.
Yeah, I don't like the looks of him. He upsets me. I don't like the looks of him. That said, the Knicks looked really good, even though they lost. But it was a great game. And I was on my couch.
Yelling. Because as soon as it went, the thing about them
when it went into OT,
once they go into overtime, I'm always worried because that's where they tend to lose it in the overtime moment. But what I will say for the Knicks is, and fuck you, fucking TNT guys, except for Kenny, who's a New Yorker, always putting up for our Knicks. Like Chuck and Shaq, who I love, are like, the Knicks suck. They're horrible. They're a terrible team. I'm like, listen.
I'm sorry. How many rings does Charles Barkley have? I'm trying to think. Okay, thank you.
0. The same amount.
And I love Charles Barkley. Like,
my thing is, they are fighting for it. You know what I mean? At least these are like the Knicks that we used to see just rolling over and losing.
No. Like, they're scrappy. And
these losses that they've been having, if you notice, have been really close. It's like 1 point, 2 point, within 5 points, which is. It makes it painful because you're like, you could have won this game, but you also see a team that's fighting. Not just because we're used to the Knicks just getting like
blown out
and sitting there and you're just scratching your head like, why are you okay with losing this?
Well, there was an article in the New York Times and I think it summed it up. They said, the Nets have the better record, but it's really hard. It's hard to get behind the Nets because they're just like the island of misfit toys, the island of misfit anti-Semitic toys. So it's hard to get behind. Whereas people, like I said, when I wear my Knicks hat, I don't get scorn.
Right.
Which I don't get pity and scorn.
Right. And the flip side is, listen, people want to talk about Brooklyn, but at the end of the day, they have as many championship rings as this current Knicks, which is none. You know what I mean?
Which would be none.
Every season since the Nets have gotten here, we keep hearing the story at the beginning. They've got KD, they've got Kyrie. They're the ones to beat. They're going to be in the finals. They're the ones, and they've not been in the finals yet. Listen, would it be great for the city? I'm never mad at anybody who gets further in the playoffs, right? Because I like that energy in the city when we've got playoff basketball. And I would love the energy in the city to have finals basketball. But I haven't seen that from the Nets yet either. And
you should read this New York Times article. It's really sarcastic and funny and clearly written by a Knicks fan. I mean, it's just really funny. There's all these like nice little digs at it is really funny. But yeah, it's that was a painful game yesterday. That really was. And to lose on the MLK Day, you know, the NBA's gimme. I all like how they wear the social justice T-shirts. It's so cute and patronizing. It really. Oh, look, we have a team with black people on it. Wear a T-shirt about Martin Luther King.
Well, listen, it's like, what was it on the NFL games? They had "End Racism" at the end of the
that'll
field.
do it. That'll end racism.
Thank you.
That was really
meaningful.
Nice of you.
Thank you so much.
All right. This is like the most ridiculous segue ever, but that's what you're here for, is ridiculous segue. All right. So Jeff Beck, the term legendary is, as we have discussed, overused like crazy, but he really, really was a legendary guitar player. And he died last week at the age of 78 from like something I didn't even know existed anymore, which was bacterial meningitis, which is horrible. My friend Karen Glover is convinced Johnny Depp killed him. And I think that there's a very good possibility of that, because Johnny Depp was at his bedside, and I'm just saying. It's a possibility. But other than his collaborations with Jeff Beck was
How is Johnny Depp in every story?
Because Johnny Depp inserts himself in every story.
Is he turning into Oprah, where suddenly you turn around and it's like, how are you in this story?
He's in the story because Johnny Depp did get his start as a musician, and he is a musician. And
they played together a lot, right?
Yeah, they recorded an album together, which is suspect, but whatever. So I'm not even going to pretend that I sat around listening to Jeff Beck all the time, but when I did own Blow by Blow, which is the record that everybody owned, which came out in 1975. And it was an instrumental record, for a guitar record to go gold, or I think even platinum, and is quite extraordinary. And the thing about it with him is that when you read these obits and you read these tributes, there's nobody's saying anything significant. You know, they say he was a little prickly, he wasn't that, but fundamentally everybody ranks him as probably one of the 5 best guitar players. I mean, Hendrix being number 1. And I can't imagine when Eric Clapton dies, that kind of, because that's the one you always get compared to, right? If you're a white British guy, is Eric Clapton. First off, Jeff Beck had far better hair than Eric Clapton. All right, let's just go with that. So what if and so Jeff Beck, his solo stuff, and I'm not a fusion girl at all, but his solo stuff kind of went into that. But it was the people he worked with. I mean, he got to start with the Yardbirds. I mean, imagine the Yardbirds has as a Clapton, and then Jeff Beck, and then Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck. That's insane that they're all in the same group.
Right.
And Clapton left because he's like a purist, a blues purist. And now cut to 30 years later, he's making songs with Babyface, but that's a whole nother conversation. And Eric, I mean, when you listen to Jeff Beck, seriously, like Shape of Things and Over, Under, Sideways Down, which I'm old enough to remember these were radio hits. He's playing like Southeast Asian Indian inspired guitar, and it's just, he gets an unbelievable sound out of his stuff. And then of course the stuff with Stevie Wonder, right? So
now, what is the superstition story? Why do people connect him to superstition?
All right, so this is how I read it. He's on Talking Book. Jeff Beck is on Talking Book, and you hear Stevie
which is the beginning of the class, right? Which is the beginning.
He
of what
says you hear him say, "Play it, Jeff," or something like that. So that's no big secret. He's on Talking Book, and the story is, and it's been verified, by legitimate news sources that vet their material. The story is that Clapton, Jeff Beck was like, you don't have to pay me for it. Just, give me a song, write me a song, give me a song. And at the session, Jeff Beck starts playing drums. He's not a drummer, and comes up with that beginning beat for Superstition. Stevie then takes it. They turn it into Superstition. He gives it to Jeff Beck, and then Barry Gordy walks in and goes, no. No, Stevie. I know you're blind, but can't you see that this is not a song you give away? Right. You give away. Right. And it becomes like Stevie's first number one. Okay. Jeff Beck does play on the demo, but to say that he gave Stevie Wonder his first number one, I don't know Jeff Beck from a can of paint, but I would bet you that Jeff Beck would say, no, I did not. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, really? It's Stevie Wonder. I bet Stevie Wonder could have come up with a tune or two.
Especially in that period, because that was talking books is what most people, actually Music of My Mind, I guess, is what people would consider.
Right, and that's his period where he starts.
And then it's talking book. That's that classic period of 4 albums that are just knocking it out.
Peerless, right. Yeah. That's when he's making his moves away from the Motown machine. Yep. And really showing him. So the idea that Jeff Beck gave Stevie Wonder Superstition is kind of like white-splaining a little bit, because it's not like he was working with Lenny Kravitz, okay, who couldn't come up with an idea on his own. I'm sorry, did I say that?
Okay, we're going to address this right now. We are.
But what I was going to say
I think he's very talented. What is it with you and Lenny Kravitz? Whenever his name comes up, you recoil and you do not. There's something about Lenny you are not buying. What is the issue?
He's derivative. Is there a
But aren't a lot of people derivative?
All right, and I don't like, but the thing is, he's derivative and adds nothing to it. Everybody's derivative. I love Oasis. Oasis is like literally the most derivative group ever. You don't think he
adds anything to anything?
No. Not at all. Not at all. No, seriously, not at all. I mean, he's just derivative, and you know, his biggest hit is like a make-believe Curtis Mayfield song, and then his other hit is a cover of somebody else. I just, I don't say he's untalented. He's just doesn't. It's the same thing.
You're like. I'm not saying he's untalented. There's just no there.
No, there's no there. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And it's not to say that he isn't talented. It's my same feeling about Tom Cruise. He has talent. There's just no there. White Stripes. Jack White is a perfectly good guitar player. Tell me what he has done to move the needle. Nothing. There's lots of people who play guitar really well. He's just, anyway, the thing with Jeff Beck, I think, is really interesting in reading the stuff and reading the tributes like from Vernon Reid, people who are great guitar players. Jeff Beck played with Malcolm McLaren. Did you know?
Waltz Darling.
Right.
Which is one of my favorite Malcolm McLaren albums that I play a lot. I love that album. I have it on vinyl. I play it a lot.
Now, you're a Tina girl. Mm-hmm. Did you know that
I had no idea.
Me neither.
No
that
idea.
He plays the
Private
lead.
Fucking Dancer. Who knew?
No idea. I mean, I knew it was written by Mark Knopfler, so I always assumed that Mark Knopfler was playing the guitar.
It's really crazy when I was looking at his credits. I'm like, he was on this album and this album, and he worked. I did not realize the depth of Jeff Beck and the amount of records that I'm like, I love this record. I love this
and you
album.
Don't know.
Had no clue.
And isn't that the coolest thing, though, where it doesn't become this thing? He was, and Rod Stewart, for me, remains seriously one of my favorite singers.
He's great.
The Faces, I love the Faces. Those early Rod Stewart, the Mercury recordings have not aged a bit. I love that stuff. And he got Rod Stewart I didn't know this, the Jeff Beck group, which was Rod Stewart and Jeff Beck and, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name of the drummer. But anyway, we're invited to do Woodstock, and Jeff Beck was like, I don't want to do it. Not a great career strategist. So that's what's sort of cool about, it's always cool to, musicians, game recognizes game, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People want to play a real pure musician, and you and I know people who are real musicians. Real pure musician will deny category. They don't want to be categorized, and they will sort of like, oh, you want me to play with you? Oh, cool, sure. And they won't demand the credit.
I have told you this, and we talk about it all the time. I feel like we're more segregated in music today
Mm-hmm.
than we were in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and you look at a lot of those records, you will see such cross-pollination of who's playing on what, and it always ends up being quite surprising. And today, I don't feel like you do that same thing. You know what I mean?
Corporate radio.
And people will be uncredited, and you're like, oh my God, he played the drums on this? Oh my God, he played, you know what I mean? And you just didn't know that. And
Right.
now it doesn't seem the same anymore. Like everybody's in their own little lanes. And back then, like you have these guys who are masters and they could play anything. I can play rock, I can play country, I can play pop, I can play blues, I can play jazz, and I'll play on all these different kind of records. I was so surprised.
I didn't know Private Dancer. I did not know that at all.
Credits. I just was like, holy shit, you did a lot.
A lot.
And you and I have talked about this with Todd Rundgren. I've heard his songs. I had no idea.
Well, that I know.
The list, especially production and stuff, of people and records. I was like, he did this. He worked with, and it just blew my mind.
John Cale, the same thing. Who's got an album? I mean, John Cale did some of the most important records of the early punk movement.
Right.
I just think that that's great. And the thing is, we can blame corporate radio. You can blame all sorts of, the first time iTunes came up where you could pick and choose who you want to listen to. And I just think that it was and more, not that people didn't want credit or money. Obviously, Jeff Beck, I'm sure, would have liked more credit and more money. But it says everything about him that, again, I think when Eric Clapton dies, there will be more kind of caveats about who he was, because there was always controversy with Clapton in terms of his influences. I think when Jimmy Page, I was about to say, is Jimmy Page dead, but I know he's not dead. Right. I remember that. There'll be other kind of shenanigans. Yeah, so it's just going back and listening to that stuff, because I remember being in high school and everybody owned Blow by Blow. Right. Everybody owned Blow by Blow, no matter what kind of. But yeah, the Bootzilla thing, I had no idea. And the Private Dancer, I thought of you, and I went, Courtney.
And see, and in my house, me being young, my house was a Stevie Wonder house, right? So like all of those early albums, Talking Book music, well, that period, because I was a little kid and all of that, and like Aretha Franklin and those records. And I'd heard of Jeff Beck, but it's just really interesting that I love to see the celebration of his life that I'm seeing. And, there are people that I feel like we should talk about more people should know about. And it's a shame that people have to die for me.
I think he was unsung. I mean, he wasn't unsung. I just don't think people, because he was playing up until the very end.
Yep. Is it because he wasn't a singer? Is that what it is?
I think part of it isn't that he never sang.
Right.
And I just think that he just wasn't that, there are lots of people who are not that guy.
Right.
He didn't have a consistent band. He changed his sound quite a bit. There are just some people who are not that guy. But he was always playing. He played clubs all throughout in England. He was always playing some sort of, but he was just not that guy.
Right.
And some people are just... it's just
not everybody cares about the fame part. There are a lot of people.
Well, we don't know whether he cared. I'm sure.
Well, I think we would know, because he was. If you can tell the people who really want the fame part, right? Because as popular as he was, and as a big a musician as he was, if he cared about the fame part, he would have put himself out there more, like, here it is, and presented it.
Well, it was the Jeff Beck group. I mean, it was always the Jeff Beck
group. As it should be, right? It's like it's your group.
But I just think it's also a different time. And, maybe he just, there are a lot of people we've talked about. You can see there's a great clip, I think we posted it, of him with Stevie Wonder at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 25th anniversary. And he just sort of walks out, is smiling, does his thing, and then leaves. He never overshadows the headliner. And that's a real, a real
He sounds
skill.
very much like a musician's musician.
Oh, totally.
It's like the actors that we see. They're actors that we know who are very famous and they constantly work, but they don't care about the fame thing. Then you see the people who are really like, I need to be on the fame thing is very important to them.
Right.
So, I think that's why you see so many musicians reacting to Jeff Beck, because he was that guy.
And he wasn't a racist or an anti-vaxxer. Go figure.
I mean, it's the little things.
Or stole.
It's the little things.
Like I said, I'm not a guitar girl. I'm somebody who loves Johnny Thunders, who was technically one of the worst guitar players ever known to mankind. But it's just watching the reaction and then realizing when someone like that dies. I don't sit around thinking about Jeff Beck all day. I go, "Oh, I wonder what Jeff Beck was doing today.
Right.
Oh, I need to listen to Jeff Beck." But then when he died, you go, like you said, holy moly.
Right.
Like he was, I mean, I'm older than you to remember those songs on the radio, the Yardbird stuff on the radio. So I'm like, holy crap. Like he did a lot, you know,
Right.
he did a lot. So yeah, so I'm glad. But yes, he did not give Stevie Wonder a superstition. We can just stop that. Okay.
Yeah,
Stevie Wonder is not The Weeknd.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Stevie Wonder didn't need nobody to give him nothing.
Right.
You know, like nobody to give him nothing.
Facts.
At all. So you wanted to talk a little bit more about Anita Pointer.
You know, speaking unsung, I just think the Pointer Sisters as a whole, I don't think they get the respect that they really do, you know, for their body of work. Those ladies made their first album in 1973, and, you know, it was a hit out the gate. You know what I mean? Yes We Can is Alan Toussaint at his finest writing. And Cloudburst and Jada and Wang Dang Doodle, those were great records. And then they had their next gold album in 1974 with their album That's a Plenty. You know what I mean? They had Fairy Tale, which is their song where they won the best country song group for a Grammy for being the first Black group to win a Grammy in the country category. You know what I mean? It's like those ladies really, like 75, when we got How Long, Bet You Got a Chick on the Side. Those are
now that song.
I mean, those are amazing
who
records.
played on that song?
Right.
That is like in the pocket.
And Anita and Bonnie wrote that song with David Rubinson. You know what I mean? It's like really, really, really great stuff.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons maybe, okay, so I remember when the Pointer Sisters came out and they were in that whole, you know, thrift store kind of, that's where they bought their clothes, that kind of 40s. It was around the time of like Bette Midler and the kind of 40s.
Yeah,
kind
and they
of
said
retro.
they did it because they were broke, and Goodwill, they had all that kind of stuff. And
no,
they were
yeah.
some Goodwill.
But, you know, and it was a very, I think it was a very interesting image for a Black vocal group to have, because up until that point, you know, think of the images we have for Black women vocal groups, the Supremes, who didn't have a hair out of place, you know, all these kind of sleek kind of groups. And here they come, and they were produced by like guys who did rock records. They were based out of Oakland. They were kind of tapping into that San Francisco rock, psychedelic funk kind of vibe. They were at the same time of like Tower Power. And I think he produced Tower Power too, David Robinson and stuff like that.
Yeah, but then they started with Richard Perry when they got to Energy, and that's when they got Fire. They did the Bruce Springsteen cover Fire.
But I'm saying in the beginning, their image was very much, they were being marketed, you know, to a rock audience. They were definitely a funky rock kind of vibe. And so I think that caught people's attention, and then all of a sudden they shift. And I think the public has a hard time when you're that kind of that, and then all of a sudden you're doing, you know, a more slick 80s kind of sound, which was the sound then. I think
but they got bigger. That's when they, you know, because the first they've had a bunch of gold records, and then when we get to the 80s portion of our show, right? Like once we get to
I'm so excited.
First of all, the Special Things album to me is just one of their best. It's the 1980 album produced by Richard Perry, and that has He's So Shy on it, and their version of Could I Be Dreaming, and, you know, really We've Got the Power and Special Things. Really, 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 really good music. And then you have Black and White in 81, which gives us Slow Hand. So you see that, like you're saying, it's starting to move. And they have Sweet Lover Man, which also, like, formerly of the Harlettes, sang, and that's another gold record. So you can see where it's changing from, like you said, like the doo-wop, a little more rock tinge, even though Richard Perry is still a producer. Then we get So Excited in 82, and that has I'm So Excited, but that's not when I'm So Excited really became a hit. Breakout.
It was Beverly Hills Cop.
Absolutely. Right? So then they put it back slightly remixed on their 1983 album Breakout, which becomes the album that's really triple platinum, and that has I Need You, Automatic, Jump, Neutron Dance, Baby Come and Get It. They've exploded now. Now they're mainstream. This like
Right.
10 years after into recording.
And the look has changed too.
The look has changed, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only group it might be analogous to in terms of having a sound, and then it's sort of, all right, two groups maybe. LaBelle, though LaBelle was way more out there and I think way more revolutionary, and that's not to say the Pointer Sisters weren't great.
It was
very different.
They were really glam rock, black and women doing glam rock and funky soul.
And Sister Sledge.
Yeah.
Sister Sledge, in that you had a family group, so that's what makes it, you cannot go wrong. Family harmonies are the best harmonies.
They're like the
unmatched. You cannot go wrong with family harmonies. But it is weird because I always liked the Pointer Sisters, and I won't lie and say when I heard like I'm so excited. I mean, I'm like, oh god, this is like
different for them, right? Yeah,
MTV crap,
right.
But the vocals were still there. It's
Absolutely.
not like they couldn't sing anymore.
Right.
The vocals were still there. And again, we always say this, you cannot begrudge people who put in the work to have a hit. And it wasn't like they were doing something so ridiculous, No,
they kind of moved with the times if you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
They caught up because some of the music that you could think of in the beginning was really great. And I love those songs. But the 80s became something completely different, and I think they adjusted with it and they had their biggest success in that early period of the 80s.
Yeah.
And, I think people should really dig into that catalog, especially before the 80s. Go from 1973 to 81 and play those records. And those vocals, man, like what you said, there's something about
the family
harmonies, man.
It's why we love DeBarge. It's why we love country. The Carters. I mean, not Jay-Z, the Carters, the real Carters, the Carter family. You grow up with each other. You learn to sing with each other. You can't beat it. You just can't beat it. It's
the Clark sisters, right?
Oh, it's like exactly. The Winans,
where they can make, or even like you think back to the groups with Take Six, right? Where you just can't fuck with those harmonies.
No, because you grew up, you have a similar vocal tone because you have the same genetics.
And you've been singing together your whole life. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. The Von Trapp family from Sound of Music. Sorry.
With Tessie Von Trapp. Those vocals are amazing.
Amazing. I never understood that movie.
Yeah. Fun fact. I've never seen the entire movie.
You've never seen Sound of Music?
I've seen part of it, and I was like, I don't care about this.
Oh, I saw it in the movie theater, and I don't care about it.
And I love Julie Andrews. I mean, I saw Julie Andrews on Broadway in Victor Victoria.
Ooh.
I did. When she came back and made her big Broadway return, I was like pure homosexual. And when she got to her big lay jazz hot number, you could on my feet. Screaming and clapping.
I'm not a fan of the singing Nazis unless it's the producers. I just don't get the singing Nazis. It's like singing. It'd be like if 12 Years a Slave, if he suddenly busted out into song. The horrible guy, whatever his name is, the really hot, horrible guy who played the slave owner. What's his name? He's really hot. Michael Fassbender. I don't get the singing Nazis.
I've never seen
unless it's the producers. You're not missing anything.
I've never watched all of Gone with the Wind. I've seen pieces of it.
Wait a minute. How do you avoid it? Well, I have only seen it once, to be honest with you.
Like, I was like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah, I've only seen it once.
And I love old films, but like, I just don't care.
Have you seen Casablanca? Please tell me you've seen. All right, goodbye.
I have. I've seen it.
Have you seen Citizen Kane?
Okay, I have
Courtney, there are certain movies you just need to see just so you know when they're all discussing this is like the only reason it's like I took a Dickens class in school so that I would know what people meant when they said it's Dickensian. I got tired of reading The Wire is Dickensian. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then I read Dickens and I was like, all right, now I understand what it means. Cross that off the list. You just need Citizen Kane is fantastic.
I've seen Jaws too.
Okay. Citizen Kane. Well, I've seen Pootie Tang 175 times. And it is not Dickensian. No, Citizen Kane is just like fucking. Obviously, you never took a film 101 class in college.
I mean, maybe.
I was a film minor.
Listen, I started watching certain things and, and then I get like, all right, okay, I don't care.
Have you seen To Sir With Love?
A million times.
All right, good. All right.
A million. From the time I was young. I've seen a bunch of Sidney Poitier films.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And then, being I always knew I was a young queen. I'm just going to tell you, even as a young person, the first time I saw it, back when we would get normal, like Saturday afternoon movies, or we would have like, fun fact, kids, if you're a certain age and you're from New York, you remember that during the week on Channel 7, there was the 4:30 movie every day.
We've discussed this with the most highly inappropriate movies for children to be watching.
The 4:30 movie. But things like that would come on, and I used to watch it. And the song, when Lulu would sing To Sir With Love.
But there is no child that should be watching Whatever Happened to Baby Jane at 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm sorry. None of those movies. I loved it too. But and all those movies were highly inappropriate.
Listen, I remember watching
Splendor in the Grass.
Jacqueline Suzanne's Once Is Not Enough.
All right. Well, you're younger than me because that wasn't on when.
Just like trashy stuff. And then my mother used to love to read a trashy novel. So I liked to read. I started reading really young, and I would just read the books that she read. And my mother would read a lot of Harold Robbins novels.
Oh, no, that was forbidden in my house. I grew up with a mother, a librarian, so we were like, but though I did, my favorite book when I was a kid, my favorite grown-up book, if you laugh now, I will. My parents shockingly did not have many books for people who were very educated. Mm-hmm. I read Yes, I Can 175 times.
I love it.
175 times.
Really?
I think I have a copy for my birthday. My sister found a copy of it. Yeah.
Okay, right. Do you want to know where my obsession with Pia Zadora started?
No, but okay, you're going to tell me anyway.
I'm going to tell you anyway. Because my mother, like I said, used to read all the Harold Robbins novels. So I read the Betsy, Masters of the Game.
My grandmother used to read
all of these things. And Harold Robbins wrote the book, The Lonely Lady. And then they made it into a really horrible film adaptation version starring Pia Zadora as Geraldine, the Lonely Lady. And I went to see it. This is back when, I'm telling you, I miss the old New York. That movie was rated R. I was not 17 yet.
Oh, they didn't care.
I went to Times Square, bought my ticket.
If you could reach the counter to give them the money, they didn't care.
I went to see The Lonely Lady.
It was rated M. Remember? Rated M.
Rated M for mature. I went to see The Lonely Lady by myself. And what I remember most, it was like 3 whole people in the entire movie theater. It was terrible. And of course, I loved it. And I was like, this lady is terrible. I love her. I love her. And that's where it started. Yeah, good old school trashy novels and good old school New York where you could be 2 and go to a bar and sit and order a cocktail.
What do you think about the next topic? Should we devote it another time? Because it's going to be a long one.
No, we're going to talk about her now because they announced the tour this morning.
All right, you talk about it. I have not. Go.
This morning, the earth has rumbled. The wind has blown.
Can I go to the bathroom? I'll be right back.
The pop gods are shining on us because how do you rehabilitate yourself when you've been acting like a lunatic for the last couple of years and you want to remind people of why they love you in the first place? Madonna has announced her celebration tour, celebration of 40 years of hits.
No, you said
40. And she's going on a tour, which starts in July. And I think that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be what's her health like? Because she did have real physical issues. I mean,
I believe the health is good now, right?
Okay.
So to me, it's a good reminder of the music. And I think for Madonna, it just needs to get back to the music because all the other stuff has been distracting. And she never wants to pull out the hits, ever. So the fact that she is coming out and telling you, guys, you're not going to hear me singing in Fado. I'm not going to sing my whole album except for the singles. You're actually going to get hits, and there's a lot of hits there, and there's some songs that have been hits for her that she's never sang live. So for that, I'm really, really happy. I think that's going to be a great show, like, because she always puts a show. And she also said the tour is going to be a celebration of New York City, where she got her start. So it's the hits and New York. That to me is a great combination. And the one thing I will say about Madonna through all of her madness is she does put on a great show. She's always put on a great show. Even you enjoyed Madam X. Now, I think Madam X would have been better for you had she had some hits in there, because that was your first time seeing her.
No, that wasn't the issue with Madam. I mean, I thought Madam X was really interesting, and I'm glad I saw it, to be that close. I just found it, there were moments that were great, and there were moments that were painfully self-indulgent.
Yes, absolutely.
Painfully so.
Absolutely.
She had a captive audience. So I'm just going to be, which hits is she going to do? Is she going to do like deep cuts? I mean, it's fine. I mean, a Fanatical, I'm assuming the tickets are going to be $5,000, which is the standard rate these days anyway. I don't know what celebrating New York means. She going to like drag out all the people she
I know that Bob the drag queen is on the entire tour with her. So it feels like it's going to be some very interesting thing. He won RuPaul's Drag Race. It's going to be, it feels like
issues with drag.
It feels like, okay, we're not going to do that today and be insulting.
No, we're allowed. I have some. I like drag.
I just come for my sisters in song and dresses.
I have problems with some aspects of drag. Seriously, I do. I don't. I enjoy, a Lady Bunny and the old school. I just have issues with some aspects of drag. That's all. And a lot of women do have issues with some aspects of drag. That's all. I mean, I don't hate drag. I don't want drag queens to be discriminated against. I think it's a celebration, but I don't, part of it is like, enough for me as a woman. As a feminist,
well, as someone someone who's not a woman, I feel like that it's a celebration and
of some aspects
of our queer culture. It's not about womanhood. It's part of our queer culture. And, you have your right as a woman to not enjoy it. And I have my right to say you're not allowed to come to any of our gay parties anymore because you're now on punishment. But,
no, I said I came up in the 80s. I mean, I was going to Wigstock when those girls were teeter-tottering over in their heels over to Tompkins Square Park.
That was when it was the best.
The best. So you know what it is? Maybe it's just the fact that it's become so over commercial.
Well, now it's weird. This version of drag, what we're seeing on television is not drag. RuPaul's Drag Race is not drag.
It's not drag.
This is people doing shit for television. It's not even about the art form. Now you got a bunch of these kids who they don't do anything. They're
putting on a dress and lip sync.
And some of them can't even do that. They're looks queens, right? So it's about how much can I look like a woman? Can I really give you the illusion in that moment?
My issue.
And that's not your drag is an art. Like I'm always for the kids who can get up there. They can do comedy. They can sing. They can dance. It's an art form.
I like Shangela. I really do enjoy Shangela.
Because Shangela's very talented and can do a lot.
I really enjoy Shangela.
And she can do a lot of things. She's not just like, look, okay, I'm giving you the illusion. And this is not to diss the looks queens, right? And the queens who are just doing it for social media. But to me, that's not drag. That's not really drag.
Yeah, so that's what my objection is the stuff I'm coming from the old school. I enjoy that stuff. It's fun, going to what was that restaurant where they used to only have
Lucky Chang's?
Yeah, that was groundbreaking back then.
It was when it opened. It was. It really was.
Like 1982, and you have these like. But yeah, that is my issue with it.
But to bring it back to Madonna, for me,
speaking of drag queens,
right? I'm just glad that we're bringing it back to the music with her because ultimately, I think she's very important in the pantheons of pop music, and I do believe that reminding people why you are Madonna by pulling out your hits is good. And there's so many songs you haven't sang in years. The fans have wanted the hits. And I think it should be a great show. I just hope that she's fierce at it because, when I see her dancing and stuff online, I'm like, this looks weird. So I'm hoping she can do it.
All of these issues are self-inflicted. No one has made her. act like an idiot on social media.
Right.
No one has made her get either the plastic surgery she's had or the filters she's using. No one is doing this to her. So she made a decision to act like it. Jodie Watley isn't acting like an idiot on social media. When Jodie
Right.
Watley posts something, it's her performing. So
Right.
no one has made Madonna do this. She made a decision to do this. Now she has made a decision to get rid of that perception, and hopefully she will focus on the music and stop being such a lunatic, you know?
Yeah.
The catalog is undeniable.
The catalog is literally undeniable. Absolutely.
But it's not like someone put a gun to her head and said, "Hey, Madonna, you want to, go." So she's done this to herself, and now she's decided, let's get back to the music.
So I'm going to ask you
it'll be the music.
I'm going to ask you this serious question because I know that you see this very differently. I think that Madonna is really important to women in pop music, and you don't feel that same way.
No, that's not what I said. She's very important to women in pop music, but I just have never. When she first came out, post Everybody, okay, so Everybody came out and everybody loved that, but everybody thought they didn't know what she was, and
we didn't know if she was black, we didn't know if she was Latin,
Puerto Rican,
we didn't know.
And I remember that whole scene, and she was around that. I just have never understood why freedom and breaking barriers and everything has been with women analogous for like being overtly sexy. I'm not saying that some of her shit seemed a little. Well, I think Debbie Harry is as important to women in pop music, and Debbie Harry was naturally. I don't think
Debbie Harry absolutely is, but Madonna was able to take it commercially, and it was the big three, right? Madonna, Prince, Michael. Really, really big three, and to have the worldwide hits.
Very different type of music. Debbie Harry's in a band.
Absolutely. Debbie Harry, and even when Debbie did the solo work, right? We've had that show. We talked about it. We never really loved her solo work.
Right.
You know?
I have my issue with Madonna is just that.
The sexual. You never really liked the sexual energy of it.
No. It's just that I've never just understood why women's autonomy and women is like showing your fucking ass, and I have nothing against showing your ass, but I just don't understand, why does that make me a more liberated person? How is that owning my sexuality?
Well, I would say because especially back then when she started, people started acting like men were the only ones who had sex and women were just like there to please men, and she was standing up saying, well, I like pleasure too. I'm not here to please me.
She wasn't the only one.
Well, but I'm talking on go back to 1982 and 83. Other women, there were definitely women, Grace, all of these women who were more underground, who definitely were in lingerie and doing all of those things. But they weren't on everybody's TV screens. They weren't in everybody's magazines. You had to look for that. Things were very niche. They were not all over MTV. You have to remember, Madonna is born of the MTV age, right? So suddenly that. And then even when she was coming out, she wasn't the first one to talk about gay people and to support gay people. But as a big pop star, she really gave visibility on a very grand
We are not disagreeing. I'm just saying I had in the beginning had issues with this being labeled feminism. I was like, how is that?
Well, because she also was a boss, right? And that's where I always took that aspect. More than the sexual part, I like that she was a woman who kind of took control of her career in a lot of aspects.
We can have that conversation.
Well, here's the thing. She's still here. Any of those women who are still here were bosses. Janet Jackson, they're heritage acts, but they're still here. And you think about how many people we've seen that were great, had better voices, really talented, who are not here. You are as someone who worked on that side of the industry, you are absolutely a boss if you can last for decades upon decades.
We're agreeing. All I'm saying, you asked me how I felt as a woman who's the exact same age.
I'm trying to sway you to my side.
No, I have no issue. I just found it hilarious that once again, that's how women are viewed as feminists, because they're wearing.
But feminists get mad at women who use their sexuality. That's a weird thing.
I don't get mad at it. No, you're not. Men.
No, but you like if a woman but what you said is I don't understand this. That is a part of it too. Being able to say I own my sexuality. And
I don't understand why that is. Am I any less a feminist because I didn't wear super revealing stuff?
No, you're
Okay,
not.
so she's no more a feminist because she
But
does.
nobody says she's more, but I feel like people discount that because they don't like that. And then they say, well, why is it that? Because, you know, you were showing your ass. And it's like, well, she
No.
wanted to. Isn't that the whole point? If she
Yeah.
wants to, nobody made her. So like when there was controversy around the Express Yourself video, and I'll never forget she did that interview where they were like, well, you're chained to a bed. And she said, I chained myself to a bed. I'm
Right.
chained to my desires. I'm chained to my passion. I'm chained. There's no man holding the end of the chain. You know what I mean? It is my chain. Why can't I express myself that way? And it's like, listen, it may not be your taste, but I believe that's what feminism is about, right? Being able to say, this is my choice. I am making it. There's no man pulling the string. There's no woman pulling the string. I have made this choice. I'm expressing myself in this way.
We agree. I'm just saying I've never understood why men view that as feminism.
But do men call that feminism?
Yes.
Or is Madonna called that feminism?
Well, is Madonna a feminist?
I believe so. And I don't think there's one type of feminist. You know what I mean? I really don't. I don't think there's just one type of feminist. And I think that...
I'm just asking. I don't know the woman.
Yeah, I don't... You know, listen, I think that's such a... It's such a weird word because people make it into a dirty word, but I think...
No, men make it... No.
The way I hear some women use it, it feels very weaponized. Like, because I think... And black women have felt very... That the word has been weaponized against them. They feel like white women use feminism and don't include them, right? So it is weaponized in a lot of ways. And it's like, and it seems like people are like, feminism means you have to be this way. And if you're outside of that box, it's almost like you're an outsider looking in and you're not included because you're not of the thing that people say this is what it should look like.
We're mixing apples and
we're not.
Oranges.
It's all in the same bag, and you can't say that because black women have felt like that for generations. And I've heard this debate about Madonna for generations, and it's always because of her the way she portrayed her sexuality, and I think that's bullshit. Liking it. You have the right to not like it.
You know what my favorite Madonna videos and songs are? It's really interesting. My favorite stuff of hers, and I like a lot of her stuff, but my favorite stuff of hers, she always did really interesting stuff when she was working with kids in the video. I love Cherish. I love Open Your Heart. There's something about
a sweetness you saw, right? When she was
there was just something like seemed much more. I do express yourself, I think, is great. Listen, she's no dummy. She knew she was getting a reaction, and that's what pop music is. She knew she was getting a reaction. She in the beginning was certainly doing what women did to get ahead in the, I mean, come on, let's I think that there is no denying her impact. I think that she is a very important person when you're making a conversation about pop music, about you asked me what my feeling was in the beginning in 1982. Some of that boy toy shit gave me a headache. But I never stopped liking the music. You're asking me. I'm the same age as her. I was working in strip clubs. Some of that stuff gave me a headache.
But you were also a punk girl back then, right?
But no, I wasn't.
Wouldn't Madonna be the antithesis?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You weren't a punk girl in the 80s.
But you asked me what my feeling
No, I'm just asking you. I said you weren't a punk girl in the 80s.
I listened to punk rock, but the punk girls didn't look like that.
I'm not talking about Madonna being punk because Madonna wasn't punk.
She claimed she was.
Well, she was downtown, right?
She was in a punk band. She got her start in a punk band. All I'm saying is in 1982, when she started breaking I liked the music a lot. I just found some of it to be a little like enough already, but I never didn't like the music. I had no problem with the music. And that's ultimately all that matters is the music, right? The music is what matters.
Yeah, like, listen, the music is the thing that holds up, but the image, especially back then, helped get you there and get people to listen to your music.
I'm just saying, you asked me what I thought about it. In 1982, when that image started I found some of it to be a little like, why is this still a thing? Right? Why is this still a thing? But the music, I never had a problem with the music. The music was always like perfectly fine. Bedtime Stories, great album. Ray of Light is the record that everybody who doesn't like Madonna likes. But Ray of Light, great album. Music, great album. Confessions on the Dance Floor, really good. Right, the music stands up.
Absolutely.
To me, it's just never been a thing, because also those images were not groundbreaking to me. I saw a million people that were doing what she was doing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you lived in New York. What she had was a New York club style, right? And you were a person who worked in clubs. Yeah, so it was like she just what Madonna looked like was everybody in the clubs.
All right, you just want me to agree with you, and I am agreeing with you.
I know you are agreeing with me, and this is why you've lost 10 gay points today because
I don't care. I don't fucking care.
Oh, you don't care? You don't care that you lost your gay points?
Is this a monolithic, the gay vote? So
yes, it is.
All right, well, so be it.
And Madonna is the queen.
For every gay man. Every gay man likes Madonna.
The ones with taste do.
All right.
I can't speak for the rest of those kids.
You asked me a question, and I gave you my honest answer about it. I think she is.
It's not like I'm asking you to side with me on Danny Minogue. You know what I mean? I'm not going that deep, but it's Madonna.
I just have always thought that early stuff. I just thought that she's when I think of Madonna, it's not the image I'm concerned about. It's the music. The music stands up. Absolutely. The music stands up.
Which is what I love about this tour. Because the
level of desperation is hopefully will be done. Right. You and I have had a conversation how we've never understood why when women are trying to assert themselves, they immediately stop wearing less clothes. That was my only point I'm making.
But Madonna wasn't naked like these kids until she did the sex book in 93.
Right.
Like these kids are like today, like people are legit naked. Like Madonna was sexy. Madonna was sexier, and that made people uncomfortable at the time. I remember. But these kids now, it's like legit naked. Like I'm naked.
But it was very different times, though, too. I mean, the 80s were very.
And at least she had the songs to go with it. Now everybody's just naked with not even the songs to go with it.
Well, she had the best songwriters in the world working with her, right? I mean, she had. When you have Nile Rodgers producing your records and Mark Kamens and Jelly Bean and, the men behind her and the men with her. Yeah. So like I said, we're 100% agreeing. You just asked me 1982. What did I think? I remember so distinctly being in my now dead friend Brian's house and us having a conversation about it and me going, I don't know, man, she annoys me. But the music was great. She just annoys me. We lived on the same block. Does that count?
No.
We did. She lived across the street from me.
Did she?
Yeah.
Where, in East Village?
Saw her. Yeah, on 4th. I lived on 4th and A, and she lived on 4th between A. I probably saw her. She lived in Marty Bignon's apartment. I knew him. I probably saw her every fucking day.
Right, and didn't even know it. Right.
I didn't even know it, because she looked like everybody else. We all look like that.
And she's tiny.
She's tiny.
Let me just tell you something. The first time I met her, I gagged because I'm thinking Madonna, and she's so tiny.
No, she's tiny. She's absolutely tiny. Yeah. She's absolutely tiny. Look, I hope the tour goes well.
If there's one thing she could do is she could sell tickets for a tour. If Madonna tells everybody, by the way, I'm singing my hits, brilliant.
They're coming out.
They're coming out.
This will be the last tour she does.
I think maybe, right? Well, how old is Madonna now? 64. I mean, Tina's last tour was at 70, and then she was like, I'm done.
Madonna, if Madonna is pulling a Madonna show, she's going to be, Tina dance, but it's a different kind of show. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see. All right.
Well, thank you, folks, for sitting along with me as my homosexuality was insulted for the last hour.
Oh, stop.
You know me, I'm very Madonna sensitive.
I know.
It hurts my heart.
You cannot ask a friend. You asked a friend whose opinion you respect.
I'd like to phone a friend.
You asked a friend who is very smart, if I may say so myself, and whose opinion you value, and I thank you for that, and a woman, what they thought, and I told you, and you immediately started telling me that I was wrong. Hello, gay mansplaining.
Listen, Madonna is a
Do I talk to you about Waylon Flowers and Madam? No, I do not.
I used to love Waylon Flowers.
I know you did. All right. We have to go. Don't I have to go to therapy today?
You do.
No, that's tomorrow.
It's like, the only thing I'm going to say is, I have a tale to tell.
One of my I hope she does. Yeah.
I hope she does Pop It on Preach, which is my favorite.
Oh, Father is one of my favorites.
Oh, Father's great. She's only ever
sang... Rain.
She's only ever sang Oh, Father at the Blonde Ambition tour.
And Rain.
And
I love Rain.
She sang Rain at the Girly show, and she sang it on some shows at the MDNA tour, I believe, when they did the second
like those
half.
songs.
Yeah. Those are great songs. Great songs.
All right. Take it out.
Thank you for listening. And Madonna, please send us tickets. And remember, us was just so I can get two. I wouldn't bring you. I'd have to bring. I want somebody who would have a good time.
Amy, who invited you to the two show. Robin and Pet Shop Boys, my friend. Robin and Pet Shop Boys.
You don't seem like you'd be. You seem like you'd be like after 30 minutes, be like, all right, I get it.
No,
would not give a shit about Madonna.
I would give a shit if she was actually doing the hits and could perform. Of course, I would. I've heard she's like phenomenal live. You know?
Oh my gosh, she's great live. She's really great.
No,
live.
I've heard totally.
I'm just hoping we could pull it off, because I remember thinking when I was watching Madam X when I was at that tour, I really enjoyed the show, but I was like, there's a couple of moments here where I'm feeling
like... That's a show
like,
you do when you know you're not physically capable of doing a show. And
she barely made it through that tour.
Right.
Like, they had to cancel so many dates, but she was really injured and had to have surgery. Anyway, that whole thing. You know the deal, kids. You like us.
Clearly, when she had the surgery, she said, while you're on my knee, work your way up to my face.
Listen.
While I'm here. All right.
A lot of people have... Listen, I'm down for people doing whatever you want to do to yourself, but I think just go to the good doctor. Go to the good one.
Yeah. Go
to the good one. Don't go to the one that you got in the back of, the Village Voice, who's having a special. Especially if you have the money, go to the good doctor, people. Go to the good one. If you're pricing out your plastic surgery, folks, and I just said this to a friend recently who was talking about some stuff, and I was like, you don't go to the place that has the surgery on sale. You go to the best doctor, it's your face. And on that note, you know what it is. Like us, tell a friend, share our show, leave a rating, follow us on Instagram at ImmaLetYouFinish. Follow us on Facebook at ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. We're on TikTok at ImmaLetYouFinish Podcast. We're on that other one with the bird, but we don't talk about that. And, love us and follow us also on the Pantheon Podcasts YouTube page, because the audio is on YouTube and we're on their main feed. We're everywhere. We're like roaches in New York City. We're everywhere. So leave a rating, leave a crew.
Possibly, can we have another can we have another connection?
Like rats in New York City, we're everywhere.
Can we have just I don't know, pizza places in New York?
But they're not everywhere. They keep shutting everything down. The only thing that gets to stay everywhere in the city is rats and roaches.
I'm starting my day being compared to vermin. Yay.
I mean, well, let's.
And on that note,
we'll be back next week with our special guest, Lynn Farmer.
Yeah.
Or it could be me speaking in broken French as Lynn Farmer. I just want you guys to know, if you can see Amy's faces, because she's had to put up with all... I have a
training I have to go to.
She's had to put up with all my shit. My Lynn obsession, my Madonna obsession, Pia Zadora, which is really pretty inexplicable, but I love her. I can't help it.
No, Courtney will be in therapy next week. He'll discuss the results of that. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Next week. Bye.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.